everyone, I'm very happy to be filming this video today, which is going to be an updated bookshelf tour. I last did a bookshelf tour in the summer of 2014, and the reason why I wanted to do an updated version is because my bookshelves have changed a lot during the past year. I have gotten rid of a lot of books and I've also bought some books, and therefore I'm going to take you on a new tour. Now, before I get started, I do have some things I have to say. First of all, I recently did a reorganization of my bookshelf where I organized my books in colors. But as you can see behind me, that has changed because I just couldn't stick to it. I always go back to the same organization, and that is to organize my books in height so that it looks pretty. And that's what I have done. That's what you can see behind me. That also means that I haven't really organized my books in genres or in authors or anything. I just like for them to look pretty on my shelves. So yeah, I think you need to know that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take each and individual shelf and then show you all of the books. And I'm not going to go too much into detail with them because then we would be here forever. But if you have any comments about the books I show you, let me know in the comments and I will be happy to answer you. And without further ado, let's get started. Let me start with an overview of all the shelves. I have 4 bookcases in total and they look like this. As you can see, yeah, whoa. Okay, so let me go into detail with each and every book. So this is the very first upper shelf and it looks like this. And let me show you the books. The Hill by Catherine Stockett, Broom by Emma Donoghue, Paper Towns by John Green, a French book, Meursault contre enquête by Kamel Daoud, A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, Luna Park by Bret Easton Ellis, The Host by Stephanie Meyer, and then we have all of the Twilight saga. We have Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, New Moon, Eclipse, and the final book, Breaking Dawn. Here we have the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. We have 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James, Darker, and the last one, Free. I don't know what this is. This is kind of an analysis of 3 of Bret Easton Ellis's novels, American Psycho, Glamorama, and Luna Park. And then over here we have some classics. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, The Brothers Karamazov, also by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Second and third shelves on the first bookcase look like this, and let's start up here. His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, Tender is the Night, This Side of Paradise, and The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Three Souls by Janie Chang, Dear Life by Alice Munro, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, Life After Life by Kate Atkinson, The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North, Winter Notes by Paul Auster, Fingersmith by Sarah Waters, A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, The History of Love by Nicole Krauss, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides, About a Boy by Nick Hornby, Le Diable s'habille en Prada by Lauren Weisberger, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and then over here we have the Bronze Horseman series by Paulina Simons, The Bronze Horseman, Tatiana and Alexander, and The Summer Garden, Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, and Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Down here we have the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger, Gone Girl, as well as Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, Among Others by Joe Walton, American Gods by Neil Gaiman, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats by T.S. Eliot, Empire Falls by Richard Rousseau, The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell, The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, Freedom by Jonathan Franzen, Canada by Richard Ford, Perfect by Rachel Joyce, and Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. Down here are the next 2 shelves, and this one up here is okay, but this one down here is a complete mess. But I like it that way. First of all, I always have my library books up here, the ones I haven't read yet, and down there are the library books that I have read and that I need to hand in. My own books are over here, so let's check those out. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, If You Could See Me Now by Cecilia Ehern, Sweet Little Lies by Lauren Conrad, The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisberger, A Ciel Ouvert by Nelly Akin, La Consolante by Anna Gavalda, Under the Red Flag by Hajin, Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier, Landline by Rainbow Warrow, I Am Charlotte Simmons by Tom Wolfe. Then we have the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. As I said, we down here have some library books, then we have a bunch of bookmarks, then we have a little Eiffel Tower, a little cat, some coloring pencils, and my coloring book, which I'm going to show you right now. This is a coloring book for adults, and it is called Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford, and I have showed you this one in a previous video. It's basically pretty pictures that you can color, and here we have some that I have colored. There you go. I have come down on the floor because here we have the last shelf on my first bookcase, and I like to think of this as my non-fiction shelf. First we have some autobiographies by Jerry Halliwell. This one is the first one, If Only, and Just for the Record. And yes, I was a fan of Ginger Spice. The official book club selection by Kathy Griffin, Being Kendra by Kendra Wilkinson, Piece by Piece by Tori Amos and Ann Powers, Survivor by Sharon Osbourne, If You Have to Cry, Go Outside, and Normal Gets You Nowhere by Kelly Cutrone. A book about being polite in different European countries by Ulla Gede Palmgren, Voyage en France by Eric Dupin, Watching the English by Kate Fox, The Audacity to Hope by Barack Obama, and then we have all of the Struggle series by Karl Ove Knausgård, and that's the 6 books down here. And the last book is a biography on Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. Moving on to the upper shelf of the second bookcase, and it looks like this. Summer Without Men by Siri Hustvedt, The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, The Progress of Love by Alice Munro, 5 Quarters of the Orange by Joanne Harris, The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes, Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, A Merry Little Christmas by Debbie Macomber, Anansi Boys by Neil Gaiman, Lady Oracle by Margaret Atwood, November 22nd, 1963 by Stephen King, The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington, Little Beach Street Bakery by Jenny Colgan, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, Persuasion by Jane Austen, Last Tales by Isaac Dinesen, The Stranger's Child by Alan Hollinghurst, Don Quixote by Cervantes, and yes, I have read this book. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and this one also has the second one, Alice Through the Looking Glass, I think it's called. North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, Coraline by Neil Gaiman, Wonder by R.J. Palacio, A Half-Forgotten Story by Catherine Webb, Stardust by Neil Gaiman, Folle, and Putain by Nelly Akin, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, Sacré Français by Ted Stanger, The Book of Tomorrow by Cecilia Ehern, and Sophie's World by Justin Garter. Next 2 shelves look like this. Up here we have my favorite bookshelf of all, because this one contains all of my Penguin cloth-bound classics, as you can see. And down here we have all of my tall books, which I also really like. Middlemarch by George Eliot, A Christmas Carol and Other Christmas Writings by Charles Dickens, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Pride and Prejudice, Persuasion, Emma, and Northanger Abbey, all by Jane Austen, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, Dracula by Bram Stoker, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and Bleak House, also by Charles Dickens, The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, and The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandra Dumas, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which comes with black pages, Butcher's Crossing by John Williams, The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer, The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton, Outlander by Diana Gabaldon, The Silkworm by Robert Galbraith, Ulysses by James Joyce. I am still about 2/3 of the way through and I'm stuck here. Then we have a complete trilogy by Ken Follett, The Fall of the Giants, Winter's World, and The Edge of Eternity, The Gollum and the Ginny by Helene Wicker, The Lives of Others by Neil Mukherjee, and Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. Next two shelves look like this, and let's start over here. Doghead by Morton Ramsland, The Colorless Sukuro Tasaki's Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami, Rachel's Vacation by Marian Keys, Chasing Harry Winston by Lauren Reisberger, The Stolen Road by Anne-Catherine Rybnetsky, Next Stop Rosengarter by Emma Hamburg, You Disappear by Christian Jungerson, The 100-Year-Old Who Crawled Out the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson, My Real Children by Joe Walton, The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, Inferno by Dan Brown, Hothouse Flowers by Lucinda Riley, and The Mountains Echoed, as well as A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. Then Came You by Jennifer Weiner, Still Alice by Lisa Genova, Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and Fatima's Hand by Ildefonso Falcones. And over here I like to keep my Kindle so that I know where it is. Down here we have a cat. Looks like this, it's very furry, and also some books. Les Chapeaux Belles by Anna Gavalda, L'Élégance du Hérisson by Muriel Barbery. Basically, you're going to see a bunch of French books now. The next four books are by Milan Kundera. This one is La Lenteur, Risible Amour, Le Livre du Rire et de l'Oubli, and L'insoutenable Légèreté de l'Être. And then we have some English books. Fragile Things by Neil Gaiman, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, A Darkness Strange and Lovely by Susan Dennett, and Something Strange and Deadly also by Susan Dennett, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, as well as The Evolution of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, Divergent, Insurgent, and Allegiant by Veronica Roth, Pivot Point and Split Second by Casey West, and the last one is Born of Illusion by Terry Brown. Down here we have a shelf that consists of exclusively young adult books. A Beautiful Dark, A Fractured Light, and A Radiant Sky by Jocelyn Davis, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the graphic novel, story by Ransom Briggs, art by Cassandra Jean, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and the sequel Hollow City by Ransom Briggs, The Monstrumologist, The Curse of the Wendigo, The Isle of Blood, and The Final Descent by Rick Yancey, Infinity, Invincible, Infamous, and Inferno, all by Sherilyn Kenyon, Dreamless, Goddess, and Star-Crossed by Josephine Angiolini, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, The Mark of Athena, and The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. This is the upper shelf of my third bookcase, and I like to call this my fantasy shelf. I am not going to pull out every single book on this shelf, simply because they are in boxes, most of them, and it takes forever to get them in and out. But over here we have the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling in this beautiful scholastic edition. Then we have, I can pull out these, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, as well as The Wise Man's Fear. This series is called The Kingkiller Chronicles. Then we have the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. We have The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages. Moving on to the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. We have The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. Last but not least, we have the A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, A Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, The Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, and A Dance with Dragons. The next two shelves look like this. We will start out with a series by Liza Kleypas called the Wallflower series, Secrets of a Summer Night, It Happened One Autumn, The Devil in Winter, and Scandal in Spring. The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach, The Invisible by Roy Jacobson, The Hotel New Hampshire by John Irving, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz-Zafón, The Storied Life of A.J. Fikri by Gabrielle Seven, The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, The Snow Child by Ewan Ivey, White Oleander by Janet Fitch, Annabelle by Kathleen Winter, La Vie en Dieu by Anna Gavalda, and in English it's called Life But Better, The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson, The Earth Beneath Her Feet by Salman Rushdie, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, Living, Thinking, Looking by Siri Hustvedt, Nickel and Dimed by Barbara Ehrenreich, Catch 22 by Joseph Heller, The Master and the Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov, Deathless by Catherine M. Valente, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon, Beautiful Malice by Rebecca James, and the last book on this shelf is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. Red Rising by Pierce Brown, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, The Seventh Child by Eric Valeur, In One Person by John Irving, Under the Dome by Stephen King, Shalimar the Clown by Salman Rushdie, The Penguin Complete Novels of Nancy Mitford, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Coming Home and The Shell Seekers by Rosamund Pilcher, Nobody's Fool by Richard Rousseau, Funny Girl by Nick Hornby, Angels and Demons by Dan Brown, Wedding Night by Sophie Kinsella, Watermelon by Marian Keyes, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman, Vicious, and A Darker Shade of Magic, both by B.E. Schwab. And the last one, The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. Next two shelves look like this. And let's start over here. Last Night in Twisted River by John Irving. And then we have my Haruki Murakami collection. We have Kafka on the Shore, Dance, 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 A Wild Sheep Chase, Norwegian Wood, South of the Border, West of the Sun, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, Sputnik My Love, and then we have the IQ84 trilogy, also by Haruki Murakami, Harold Fry's Incredible Pilgrimage by Rachel Joyce, I Kill by Giorgio Folletti. Then we have a series by Jan Guillou. First one is called Bridge Builders, Dandy, Between Red and Black, and Not Wanting to See. Then we have my Jojo Moyes collection, The Last Letter from Your Lover, Me Before You, The Girl You Left Behind, and The 1+1. Wildflower Hill by Kimberly Freeman, The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Richard Flanagan, and A Man Called Over by Frederick Backman. And the shelf down here is kind of small and cramped, so I don't know if you can see that much, but over here we have my TBR jar, and under that we have a Break This Journal, Sushi for Beginners by MARIAN KEYES, Back to Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier, Vandalism by Tom Christensen, Thanks for the Memories, as well as A Place Called Here by Cecilia Ahan, Happy Birthday by Danielle Steele, The Hours by Michael Cunningham, Dragonfly in Amber, and Voyager by Diana Gabaldon, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, Thérèse Raquin by Émile Zola, La Nuit Sacrée by Tahar Ben Jelloun, Jacques Rand d'École by Daniel Pennac, L'amour dure 300 by Frédéric Beigbeder, Germinal by Zola, and War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. And yes, I've also read this one. Down here we have some white books. First we have The Dumb Waiter by Harold Pinter, L'aube, le soir ou la nuit by Jasmina Reza, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, a book for children that you can read aloud when they have to sleep, Happily Ever After by Harriet Evans, Kiss and Tell by Alain de Botton, Timbuktu by Paul Auster, Between a Mother and Her Child by Elizabeth Noble, One Good Turn by Kate Atkinson, Sosa Boy by Ken Saro-Wiwa, Birdsong by Sebastian Fox, Je voudrais que quelqu'un m'attende quelque part, Ensemble c'est tout, and Je l'aimais, all by Anna Gavalda, La Délicatesse by David Fuenquinos, Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert, The Other Side of the Story by MARIAN KEYES, and Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Gold. Moving on to the upper shelf of the very last bookcase, and this entire bookcase is almost exclusively young adult books. The Maze Runner by James Dashner, I Hunt Killers by Barry Liger, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, Rot and Ruin by Jonathan Maybury, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alira Saenz, Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson, Maybe Someday by Colin Hoover, Ask the Passengers by A.S. King, Just One Day by Gil Foreman, Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson, Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson and Lauren Miracle, Ugly Love by Colin Hoover, and then we have my Cassandra Clare section, which consists of the Mortal Instruments series as well as the Infernal Devices series. Let's start with the Mortal Instruments series. Here is City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and City of Heavenly Fire. And the Infernal Devices trilogy consists of Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. Here we have some more young adult novels and also a lamp in the way. I hope you can see it anyway. This shelf is actually exclusively contemporaries. The Duff by Cody Keplinger, Crash and Burn by Michael Hassan, Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delara, the Pushing the Limits series by Katie McGarry, Pushing the Limits, Dare You To, Crash Into You, Take Me On, Winger by Andrew Smith, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Kahn and David Levithan, Rebel Bell by Rachel Hawkins, Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour, Such a Rush by Jennifer Eccles, Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson, Open Road Summer by Emery Lord, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jesse Andrews, Fangirl, as well as Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han, Burn for Burn, as well as Fire with Fire by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. Then we have the Summer Trilogy by Jenny Han, The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, We'll Always Have Summer. Down here we have some beautiful cats, and then it actually says home down here. Let me just show you the cats and the sign. There you go. Over here we have some more books. We have the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. First we have the short story collection, The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. And the last book on this shelf is The Diviners by Libba Bray. Here we have the next two shelves, which are also young adult. Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout, The Archived and The Unbound by Victoria Schwab, Cinder, Scarlet, and Crest by Marisa Meyer, Shadow Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me by Tahara Mafi, The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, The Winner's Curse by Marie Rudkowski, Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott, Uninvited by Sophie Jordan, The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth, Neverwhere, and In Shadowed by Kelly Creek. And then we have the Bloodline series by Richelle Mead, at least the first 5 books, and here we have Bloodlines, The Golden Lily, The Indigo Spell, The Fiery Heart, and Silver Shadows. Hello! Down here we have a beautiful owl that you almost cannot see when it's tucked down in there. But he's my book owl and I like him. Actually, he needs a name, so let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions. I think he's a male owl, but he could be a female as well. The red books down here that you almost cannot see are the Vampire Academy series by Richelle Mead, Vampire Academy, Frostbite, Shadow Kiss, Blood Promise, Spiritbound, and Last Sacrifice. Then we have the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. Okay, I really don't want to get these out, so let's just take a look at them. Right here we have The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. Looking for Alaska by John Green, World After, and Angel Fall by Susan E. And yes, I do realize that I just showed them to you in the opposite order, but who cares? And the last book is Carl Demore and the Timekeeper's Key by Samuel J. Vega. Here is the very last shelf, and I'm not going to go into detail with this one because it mainly consists of some cookbooks over here, some TV series, we have Sex and the City and Brothers and Sisters, and over here we have some books that I received from a university professor back in the days. We have Okay, this one is actually from my mother. This is Shakespeare's Complete Works, but these 4 books are a gift from my university professor. She was very kind to me.